Welcome everybody into a new episode of All Things NBA from A to Z. We are here with an emergency pod, our first emergency pod for All Things NBA, presented by Ball is Life. I'm Kris alongside Al and Zach, and we have a trade, a big time trade, people. Damian Lillard plays in the Eastern Conference now. Damian Lillard plays in the Eastern Conference. It is not the Sixers who went and got him. It's the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Bucks get Damian Lillard. The Blazers get Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, a 2029 first-round pick from the Bucks, and a pick swap from the Bucks. The Suns, as you know, they're involved because of Ayton and Camara. They get Nurkic, that center that they've been wanting over Ayton. They have been wanting to probably fill out that rotation too. So Nazir Little, Keon Johnson, Grayson Allen also going to Phoenix.
Dude, who the fuck cares? Dame just got traded, man.
And I'm trying to get the full details out. And we're waiting on a second shoe to drop. The Blazers going to move Drew Holiday to a contender is what's being said. Really open things up for Scoot Henderson there at the point guard spot. Man, I want to talk about
just Dame's face. Gonna be right there.
I want to talk about Dame and Giannis to start. We're gonna get to Drew, what team might go for him, what a team might give up for him. We'll get to Drew after. We got to talk about Damian Lillard being a Milwaukee Buck. Who wants first dibs, y'all?
Zach, the floor is yours, man. Holy shit.
I'm just bonkers because if you would have years ago, like when Dame rumors were starting to swirl, where I can't even talk right now. This is just majestic. This is one of my favorite trades of all time because this is the dream destination for me for Damian Lillard. Miami was never sexy. I do like Jimmy Butler other than when he's complaining about gas prices and filling up his Bugatti. But man, this is a dream come true because I'm a huge Giannis guy and I'm a historian like Albert is, and I believe Kris is somewhat. But this puts Giannis back into the GOAT conversation, man. At first, that's my first reaction. Literally, like last year's debacle and what happened last year, it's like he has no chance to ever get back into it unless some dream trade or just situation happens. And then I'm like, saw this trade and I thought Drew was staying too. I was like, this is game over. And then I realized Drew was gone. And then my hopes went down a little bit. But no, this is exactly what the whole city, counties, and border Wisconsin, Milwaukee needed to keep their hopes alive, to keep this GOAT figure around. And I truly think that's enough pieces. They're deep enough. John Horst actually opened up his brain to understand, like, you can't let this player go to Miami because it probably makes them better than us. You can't let this guy explore Toronto or Boston or even Philly for that matters because it impacts Giannis's future. It's like, I want to know the conversation right now John Horst had with Damian Lillard and that vision. And another thought that came to my mind right away is James Harden. You missed out, you son of a bitch. That could be you, bro, but you're just playing. It could have been you, but you were out here too busy clowning Giannis and not taking advantage of that opening that you could just said, yeah, we're cool. Send me there right now. And Philly fans would be really happy with Drew Holiday, but that didn't happen because you're too busy holding up party signs at club camp in Houston.
Hey,
Daryl Morey's a liar. But man, there's so much basketball talk. Al, what's your initial reactions? Because
my initial reaction is Damian Lillard just got traded, and Zach still somehow fit in James Harden.
James Harden, man.
But it is what it is.
It always comes back.
I love the passion. I love the undying beloved trust there. But this is crazy, guys. First of all, we all thought Damian Lillard was going to a big market, whether it's Miami, Philly, New York, Toronto. Nope. This is a win for small market teams, guys. This is huge. I know we all kind of live in large markets Zach, maybe not you, but this is a huge win.
Dallas, come on.
There's 10 million people in Dallas. But this is a huge win for Milwaukee, like Zach said, huge win for the
100%.
region. And honestly,
this is big for Minnesota, just like you said.
It's championship or bust, right? Who in the East? Let's just dive into it right now. It's really between, in my opinion, them and Boston. Who would you have on top, Kris?
If Porzingis is healthy, I'm gonna go with Boston. I'm not gonna shock react here. I think Boston is gonna be the best team in the league if Porzingis is healthy. That's what it is, man. That's number one in either conference. Now, I want to talk about something you said, Al, because I want to get this in early in the episode. I have, heard rumblings that Miami was super in play for Lillard. Like, Miami was very real. That was never just, talking up a market or anything. There was no home for Tyler Hero. And, I know it was reported that Brooklyn was involved. Like, they weren't necessarily bending over backwards to get involved in that regard. So I think you saw a deal get struck that's not as valuable for Lillard as you might have expected. Some of the obstacles around making a more valuable package happen were finding a home for the high salary player coming back. The Blazers seem to be okay taking the bet that, okay, well, we can't get someone to take on Hero and give us capital. What if we can trade Drew to a contender? So, yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, a pretty interesting wrinkle. Miami losing Strus, losing Vincent, not getting Lillard.
Miami's done. They're in the tank. Might as well trade Butler now and build around Bam.
Butler, he has been, do we want to say, like, stuck a little bit there and looking for that another piece to try and push that team through that final barrier. A lot of people thought it was going to be Lillard. I thought it was going to be Lillard. Ends up going to Milwaukee. This is crazy. Oh my God.
So
do we have a semblance of where Drew is going? Because I know he's not the cornerstone of this trade, but he potentially is a swing player for whatever contender, whether it's the Warriors, whether it's the Nuggets. Like, that's a really big addition to whoever picks him up.
Yeah, let's talk about the return first of all here. Like, this is a really, 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 really poor return for the Portland Trailblazers. Like, my grade is not going to be good on this. Like, I'm okay with them taking DeAndre Ayton back, but are you weighing Ayton as like 2-3 first-round picks here? You're getting 1 first-round pick. And Drew Holiday's worth probably 1 to 2. But depending, like, I want the picks. You don't know what you're going to get back for Drew Holiday. Like, there's no guarantee that that's happening here. So, like, what is Portland doing unless you can actually get a great return for Drew? Hopefully they can flip it nicely. We'll see. I'm not a DeAndre Ayton guy. I love the fit in Portland because they're a young core. Gives them a chance for more upside. It's a perfect fit next to Jeremy Grant. Let's talk about our fits and trade thoughts, and then let's move on to Drew after that. But like, I don't know about you guys. I am not high on this trade for the Blazers. I think a part of this is they don't like how Dame went about this at all. So they're like, these are your options. And they probably sold it the fact that they like DeAndre Ayton more than Tyler Hero, which I'm fine with that. I do too for them. Absolutely. But would I rather had 2 or 3 firsts from Miami, what they could have offered? Probably. And maybe more firsts from Toronto, what they were offering. If you were getting OG and Anunoby back, give me OG over the package they got. Let's be honest. Or Scotty Barnes. I'm taking both those guys. So I'm not pleased at all.
Just to cut you off there, I'm sure the Raptors were part of the discussion. Again, we're not in the room, but it's just impossible to deal with Masai, right? He probably asked for draft picks back somehow, right? Getting Dame Lillard, to be honest. Like, to be honest, the when I look at the Blazers trade, honestly, you're right. I think you're never gonna get full value when you're trading a superstar, first and foremost. But getting Drew Holiday back, which most likely is gonna be flipped to another first, right? So essentially, they get 2 firsts. And then if you like DeAndre Ayton, which a lot of people do, he is considered a first-round draft pick himself, right? Number 1 overall. So that's essentially getting 3 first-round draft pick assets, right? 1 is a player, 2 is the pick. And then those swaps, I think, will end up being pretty powerful 5-7 years from now. So depending on what those years are, I think that can come in pretty handy. The other guy, I don't really know.
Swap as in 1 though, so we don't know.
Oh, is it 1 swap or is it 2 swaps?
That's what Shams is reporting. 1 swap.
I saw 1 2029 pick, 1 swap.
Got it. Okay.
I've got a question for you guys about a different aspect of this trade. And it's a weird one. You guys know me. I need to iron out all my details, and I still can't get over this. We know Gambo was talking recently about how the Suns wanted a defensive anchor in Nurkic over Ayton, and everyone read that and was like, really, man? But they did it, right? The Suns they wiggled their way into this trade to turn DeAndre Ayton and Toumani Camara from Dayton, who they just picked up, who I like. I like Camara, right? But they swapped them for Nurkic and Keon Johnson and Nas Little. I think these guys are not. I mean, listen, Phoenix is supposed to be the tip of the top in the West, and they're saying, all right, we got our big piece, everyone. It's Yusuf Nurkic. Like, I just can't.
No, don't forget Grayson Allen here, man.
Oh,
Grayson Allen. Bro.
He's good.
He's so good.
He's good. I'm trying to talk about rim protection, because when you have
KD
guys like
can
Durant,
protect the rim.
KD cannot protect
Bismack
and
Biyombo.
I think he can. He's never chosen to in his career.
The effectiveness of Grayson Allen is negated by being on this team, because you have Beal, Booker, and KD. Like, what is Grayson Allen going to do?
The bench sucks.
The bench still sucks, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I think from a DeAndre Ayton perspective, they didn't vibe anyways, Kris, right? So they were going to move him no matter what.
Right, but here's my thing. Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. There's no way Yusuf Nurkic is like the apple of your eye, man. Like,
he's a way better passer than Ayton.
But we need rim protection, right?
No, Phoenix, I don't disagree with you. But there's block
shots.
But there's like maybe 4 elite rim protectors in the entire league. So it's hard to acquire one of those. I think the way that they looked at it is they gave up a starter and they got a starter back. The other 3 players.
This is my question: I'm not confident that Nurkic is a starter. Like, I know Ayton's.
Come on, man.
I know Ayton's not great. I'm not confident Nurkic is a starter. If you're looking at the lens of we want to win a championship this season, I don't know if I see Nurkic that way.
All right, real quick,
let's fill. But go ahead.
Grade it for Kris. Finish up. Grade it for Phoenix, and then Albert, you go.
No, they would, before Kris, they would probably play KD at the 5 in a Game 7 finals, 4 minutes left. I mean, KD would play the 5, to be honest.
He's averaged 2 blocks at times.
So it's Booker, Beal, Okogie, someone, and KD.
Depends how much you believe in Beal and Booker's defense, and then you throw
They'll
in
be all right. They're okay, but I don't. they're man. All right, so listen, the Bucks receive Damian Lillard.
No, let's stay on Phoenix for a little bit.
Graded for Phoenix. Okay, Phoenix sends out Toumani Camara. Phoenix sends out DeAndre Ayton. They get Yusuf and Grayson, and they get Nas Little and Keon Johnson, athletic project. Because this is from the lens of Phoenix, because NBA trades are never in a vacuum, because they wanted to move Ayton, I'm okay going with a C+ for Phoenix on this deal. I like Camara.
2 swaps, guys. 2 swaps. 2028 and 2030 pick swaps.
Do we know, are they first swaps?
Yeah.
They'll have to be first.
Has to be.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
You can trade second swaps, but that's 2 pick swaps. It would be 2 pick swaps. Legion Hoop says 2 pick swaps as well. Interesting.
But I need to know first or second.
It's got to be first.
Just assume first.
So the Suns, we know they didn't send out those picks, right? The Bucks sent out all those swaps and picks. the Suns, man, they turned DeAndre Ayton, who I don't think was any sort of super valuable chip, into a couple rotation guys, someone who is going to start for them. But Ayton was going to start for them. I remember when they were sold on Ayton and they decided everyone was doing great and Ayton was going to stay. And yeah, we knew that wasn't happening. But I do think that you look at the return, Nas Little, right? They brought in Bates Diop over the offseason. They brought back a Kogi. I'm not sure how important Nas Little is going to be. Maybe a backup 4 now that they traded Kamara. I don't.
He's very good.
Yeah,
very
he's
good
decent.
defender. He could start.
Allen,
better than Okogie.
I think Okogie's a better player than Nas Little.
If they give him a chance.
Josh Okogie is like a mini Josh Hart, even though they have the same first name. That's not the point. Okogie is like that. He doesn't need the rock. He just goes out and provides value off the ball, defensively, rebounding. He's so energetic. He's a bundle of energizer bunnies, plural. I love Okogie. I don't think Nas Little is better than him. I would definitely start Okogie over him, and I think starting both gets really redundant and forces you to not play a 5. So yeah, you got to start Nurkic. You know, if Nurkic plays his role there, I could see, and it goes well, I could see myself thinking this is a B- trade really easily. For right now, I'm going to go C+, because I'm not super sold on the combination of guys they got relative to how they fit in the rotation and what specifically Phoenix needs around the stars that they've acquired.
All right. I'm a B plus for Phoenix because I didn't value DeAndre Ayton really highly, and I'm so happy to be right on this. I said they needed to trade him all offseason and get a bundle similar to this. I think this is best case scenario. They're saving 17 million going from Ayton to Nurkic. That's a huge part of it, even though I don't like Nurkic. Actually, I do like Nurkic's deal on that. I think he'll be at least worth 18 million here the next 2 years. I definitely see that because the cap's gone up. So he's definitely worth that. So I'm a huge Nas Little guy, huge Grayson Allen guy for the role I think they're needed on this team and that they'll play. I think Nas is already one of the best defenders on this team that they need. And you always need wing defense. They don't have young upside,
It's not hard to be a great defender on that team.
Correct. That exactly. So if they give him his lick, him and Okogie can be specialists. So I didn't believe what they did this offseason. I didn't like it at all. So this is massive for me. This could even go up to an A- or so, depending on how healthy Nurkic is and what he looks like. But I believe in Nurkic's all-around game. Defense, he's slowed down a little bit. That's going to be what's in question. But offense, man, this is a machine. They got so many great passers on it, a lot of high IQ players. I think the fit is there. I think they can get this job done with the team they have now.
My initial reaction, guys, is we are not focusing on the fact that the Bucks just gave up Drew Holiday and they got back Damian fucking Lillard. Just think about that for a second. I know the picks, I know the pick swaps, Grayson Allen, all that. But we're talking about Damian Lillard, who arguably, if you look at the numbers, had his best year ever last year. Yes, they were on a losing
Numbers
team.
overrated.
Yes, they were on a losing team. Yes, he was not in the playoffs. Those numbers might have been empty, just like just like Bradley Beal for all those years. But man, that is the best teammate Dame has ever had. And that is the best teammate Giannis has ever had.
Yep. I think that's the big point here, Al, that, regardless of what you think about Dame's defense, because we know it's bad, the point here is that Chris Middleton is the sure third option on this team. There are 2 players that we know factually are better offensively than Chris Middleton on the Milwaukee Bucks. Middleton, with Holiday on the team, a lot of people, like Drew and what he does in the playoffs, his offense is not good, right? And so that on Milwaukee, given his role, his offense is not good. I'm sure if he goes to a team like Denver where he can do some cutting, do some off-ball stuff with Jamal Murray, and it would be great, right? But in Milwaukee, he was the lead guard. And so the offense wasn't fantastic from Drew. And I just think now Dame and Giannis, what that opens up for Middleton as a surgical third option. Like,
I
oh,
agree. I agree there. Chris Middleton, I mean, he won the final, he won the championship as the number 2, and sometimes number 1 closing those fourth quarters. People forget last year, before injuries kind of robbed the Bucks' chances, Brook and Giannis arguably was the best defensive front court in the NBA.
they
Brook
have been
Lopez,
for a while, man. Giannis funnels
yeah,
dudes to Brook, and Brook handles them at the rim. That's the
and Brook
formula there.
Lopez was a front runner to win the Defensive Player of the Year award. So I don't
Should've
think
won
there's
it.
going to be. I love Drew Holiday. I think Drew Holiday got to the point where he was so beloved that then he was no longer underrated, right? He was underrated for so long, and then now he just became overrated for the most part. But with Giannis and Brook, you still have guys like Connaughton, Jay Crowder, Bobby Portis. Like, this is a team built to win today.
Call me.
And I think Giannis, this is the nudge that Giannis has been kind of
Yep.
subtly talking about for the last two
Not
and a
so
half years.
subtly. Not
Yeah,
so he's
this is
loud,
it,
man. He's
This is it.
loud.
But
Go
at
ahead,
the same
Zach, though.
time, so the three of us, we did, team previews, and we'll release that in a couple of days. But we're talking about, Dame Lillard right now. But one of the questions we talked about was, which team in the NBA has the most pressure? Now you have to say is Milwaukee and Giannis,
I
right?
told you guys it might be who trades for Dame, unless it's a team like Toronto. I didn't say Milwaukee, but
That was a
man,
good call. You had to be crying a little bit when you saw him going to Milwaukee, didn't you, Chris? I mean, that kind of ruins your Giannis dreams a little bit.
well,
It's not over if they
It
fall
ruins
apart
it in
and
the
Dame
short
can't
term.
stay healthy.
Yeah, it
definitely
ruins it
ruins
in the short term for sure.
any dreams the Knicks had of Giannis shaking loose. This is a big time move from Milwaukee. You can pretty much look at Joel Embiid as the lead Knicks target for next summer. What about Philly for Drew Holiday, though? Right?
Couple more
Oh,
things. Couple more things.
I'm
Were you
thinking,
guys
man.
shocked that they chose Drew over Chris Middleton? Because I'm sure Portland would have taken either one of them. It's just Milwaukee had to choose. But I'm not, just because of the
Nope.
basically
Middleton's
the
better.
clutchness and wing fit that they're getting back. But I don't know. I wouldn't have been that surprised, to be honest, because Drew and Dame would fit seamlessly as well. Amazing defense, and you can argue that Drew is more valuable than Kris right now because he wasn't great last year.
I think
I
it's
think
tough in
there's
the
going to be
playoffs.
I think there's going to be some salary ramifications, right? I think Drew has this year and then a player option next year, whereas Kris just signed his extension last summer.
It was still a small extension, though, a 2-year.
True, but I think I agree with you. I think Portland did have their choice between Drew and Kris, even though they were not going to keep that player anyways. I think Drew has more perceptive value in the market, so I think they'll have more first round picks to choose from, in my opinion.
Okay, that's a different way of looking at it. So glad we asked that. And I think Grayson Allen is going to be flying under the radar for value lost for Milwaukee because they don't have a ton of depth there. Marjon Beauchamp. Yes, he's got a lot of upside. I agree, but do you believe in his shooting? Like, where are they going to get his shooting from? And Drew was a good shooter last year.
Yeah, I just think Drew's offense is rough in the playoffs, man. Like you got.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the hope is like, okay, they have a great team now. Maybe they can sign some vets. Maybe they can get some buyouts, right before the playoffs. Yeah, the depth did take a hit with Grayson Allen, but I don't, in my opinion, you're much higher on Grayson than I am. I don't think he's a needle mover by any means. And I don't think he's
8th, 9th, dude.
Yeah, he's not a swing guy for me. Yeah.
And to cover that up, a lot of people forget they have one of the best offseason signings in getting Malik Beasley, who's just going to step right in there and be very lethal. And he'll get Grayson Allen's minutes. So he's a guy that's really joyous right now.
There's your shooter.
Exactly.
And what a career, man. What a career. He's been able to play with the Joker with LeBron and now with Giannis. What a career!
Don't forget Ant-Man. Don't forget the Ant-Man.
I
I
thought
left
Zach
out
was
the
gonna say
T-Wolves.
Cat too.
I left
Yeah.
out the
Oh, no,
T-Wolves.
take him.
Very, very
Hey,
intentional.
what about Cat for Drew Holiday? Let's get it done. Let's get it done. No, there's the segue, boys. There's the segue.
Scoot, Cat, and Ayton. Wow, that would be something, man. That would be something.
Who do you think Cat would rather play with, Ayton or Rudy Gobert? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's talk through Portland. So they gave up their franchise player for the last decade, the guy that basically built that entire city, right? Basketball city, and has propped it up for 10 years now. Arguably the best or one of the best players in their franchises. Now they're moving
one
forward.
Of the
right?
best. One of the
Yeah,
best
one of the
players
best,
in
one of the best.
franchise history.
They're moving
best.
forward. They're moving forward with Ayton, with Sharp, and with Scoot. How do you guys feel about that core three?
I think it's fine. Like, that's who they got to sell their fan base on, and I love Scoot Henderson. I think that's all you need right there, to be honest. I think they're way ahead of schedule right now with a Dame flip, kind of like Houston was with Harden. Like, I hate how some people tear down Harden for that Houston, because he put him in the best position they could ever be in. He sold at his highest point, and they're set up. I love Houston's quick flip rebuild. I thought it went very flawlessly besides Coach Silas, but you needed somebody as a placeholder there. And that might be what Chauncey Billups is, and worried about his future as well, because a lot of people don't think he's a great coach. But I think DeAndre Ayton can go in there and try to be whoever he wants for a little bit. I think Chauncey Billups is a guy to allow that freedom. We'll find out quickly, though, if the two guards are going to work, because I don't think either one of them are going to be good defenders. That's what I don't like. And Shaedon Sharp, I'm not too high on his defense either. So the three young backcourt of Sharp, Simons, and Scoot is a lot of fun from a bounce aspect and an athleticism, but like defensively, I don't expect much to work. And Nasir Little leaving, like that's a hole there. So I think Anthony Simons should go out the door pretty soon. I would try to flip him and Drew for something much greater. Maybe get OG Anunoby, something like that, because they need a guard out there. If you could get OG in there, that'd be a perfect fit. Maybe see what kind of upside he has as well. But other than that, that's tough to sell the fan base. It is a trade like that. You don't have like picks on the forefront until you have Drew Holiday. That's what I'm thinking. Like, you want a package like
for me, Zach, it's like Portland didn't learn from their lesson, right? They did Dame and CJ for 7-8 years and it failed. This is literally Dame and CJ part 2. We have a 6'2" Scoot Henderson and a 6'4" Shaedon Sharp, maybe 6'5" at most. Yes, they're both supremely athletic, but can they shoot? We don't know that. Can they pass? Maybe. Can they run an offense? Right? Like it's just like we're seeing the same team kind of compile and be built over there. And maybe DeAndre is kind of like a young LaMarcus that failed, right? In Portland. It's just, I don't know, man. Portland is to me, and I know how passionate that fan base is. Everybody talks about how great those fans were in the 70s, 80s, 90s, right? They made the finals those 3 decades, but they've just sorry, man. Sorry, Portland. I just think that this is the same wheel of mediocrity that you guys are going to experience for the next 7 to 10 years again.
Yeah, I'm not huge on this for Portland. I don't think it's a great return for them. I think betting that you can get more in return for Drew than the hero package or whatnot, like that's totally fine, right? I just Ayton
it just goes to show some of these players can tank their value, you know?
The rehab project with Ayton, from what I've heard, he's not someone I'd bet on trying to rehab, right? Like a lot of guys, the NBA is a job to them and it's not a passion. And that's like storybook shit that a lot of people love to believe in, but that's okay. Like, I think it's so okay to collect your checks. I just think that that's kind of what DeAndre Ayton has been doing from what I've heard, at least. And, I don't mean to speak down on his career. Like, he got an extension that makes his career a success, in my opinion. Like, like, he did it. He did the thing. But for me, for Portland, I think we'll view this move as like forgettable in a couple years, and that's bad. I think they're going to be building with these other pieces they've got, seeing what they can get from Sharp, really building around Henderson. And they got like Kris Murray there to provide some just like decent play. I get what they're doing. It's just a little odd to me. I think in a couple years we'll be going, man, this team could actually have something going if they had gotten something from the Damian Lillard trade. They're going to be close in a couple years to looking like maybe one day they'll be close to winning. And that's not what you want to, the situation you want to be in after moving Damian Lillard. I really am shocked by the return for Dame and what Milwaukee had to give up, how little Milwaukee had to give up, what Portland had to give up. I'm shocked.
Yeah, Zach, Dame and CJ made the Western Conference Finals. I know as a kind of a fluky, playoff run that year, but do you see this core in Portland making a conference finals?
No, like I'm one that projects futures out, and I love doing that. And right now, the ceiling on this team right now on paper to me, if everybody, I'm not talking this year, if everybody stayed together and they reached their ceilings, I see them as a first round team tops, basically because they're lacking defense, in my opinion. And I don't see Jeremy Grant wanting to stay for this rebuild. So if he did, that's another thing. What was I about to say before that? I'm blanking.
Yeah, you're fine. While you think through that, I do have a question on DeAndre Ayton. I know we're talking about him a lot because he is, I guess, arguably the second best player in this deal, right? This massive trade that just went down. So he just finished the 5th year. Let's say by year 12, guys, you look back at his career and he's a 19, 10, 1.5 blocks type of guy. Would that be considered a success? Because those are great numbers. He's putting up solid numbers. So what's missing? Like, why are people so out on DeAndre Ayton? Again, I'm not saying I'm in.
Everything Kris said, everything he mentioned.
I just want to challenge his narrative of maybe DeAndre Ayton isn't the issue. That's all I'm saying.
The culture was something. I mean, there's a reason why Monty left as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, everybody complained about DeAndre Ayton's work ethic. That was a real thing. So that'd be my response to that. There's obviously people on both sides of every player until it's for sure proven one way or the other, because he definitely put up enough numbers to show that there is a little left in that tank, a little upside to him. Like, you can't say it's definitive that the guy doesn't work. Like, he was in the Bahamas training a little bit. There's been videos of that, whatnot, but like, to what extent? I mean, there's people that just put out videos for clicks, for little visuals of I'm doing something in this offseason.
Yeah, man. Listen, Ayton is someone who is super talented and who already in his career is in the reclamation project category, right? I think people are understanding that those stats that he puts up can maybe be transformed, can be streamlined into a super productive player that's talented, that is defending, is rebounding. But as of right now, the focus seems to be on those numbers as his saving grace. I think whenever you're pointing to stats or draft slot, it's over, right? Like, remember the conversations of, well, they've been adamant in mentioning when trying to trade Okafor that he was indeed the number 3 pick in the draft. Like, I'm not saying DeAndre Ayton is Jahlil Okafor, man, but what I am trying to say is that if we're already at those conversations of, oh, well, he was a high pick and he has so much potential, at a certain point, I want to see production that contributes to winning. And I know the Suns were in the finals, right? But they had nothing but problems with Ayton. And since then, it's been nothing but problems with Ayton. So, from what I've heard about his work ethic, I think this is a good challenge upcoming for him to show the NBA landscape, hey, I'm not done. Don't write me off. I'm just getting started here. I think Portland should try to have him for Scoot to feed easy dunks to. I think he can be a useful piece. I do think he has a path to that. The thing is, the necessitation of a path implies that we're not there yet. And I think that's an important realization, is looking in that mirror first and going, we're not there yet.
Yep.
No, I'm with that. So one thing you mentioned earlier is this isn't a trade Portland fans are going to remember, or the NBA in general. So my mind got spinning on who are some stars that we do remember. And one thing I'd say to that is I've always lived with the notion that the player is always worth the package. It's very rarely he's not. I mean, the star, it's always hard to get a top 10 ish player when you're trading for that guy. So trade the house for it if you're in that situation. And Milwaukee was in that situation and in that time where they should have done it. Sam Presti got asked this today, and he said long-winded answer, but I thought it was very nice that it's just not the time. He doesn't know what his team is, so he can't even make that decision with his team. I definitely suggest everybody going back and listening to that response because it was really detailed and thought out. But it's always a question people do have for OKC and all their assets as well. But as for trades, we do remember on the package side of things is Anthony Davis, yes. James Harden, yes. And then outside of that, it's basically Rudy Gobert that comes to mind. And then you go way back to KG being the biggest package of all time, but he didn't get shit back. He just got the most pieces ever. So that's not great. But like you can argue the Rudy Gobert one, the James Harden one, and the Anthony Davis one could end up being worth it. We'll see. But those are the ones that come to mind. Anybody else got anything to add there?
Nah, I think it really depends, man. Like I was saying all last summer, the Knicks should not move for Donovan Mitchell because not only were they not ready to move for a player of a high caliber as for the rest of their team, but Mitchell wasn't that kind of player himself that's worth moving for. And you see Cleveland actually got knocked out by New York without Mitchell themselves. So, I think you really need to be selective. I think the worst thing in the NBA is having a player on a max contract. How about this? For a very long time, the worst thing in the NBA was having a player on a max contract who did not deserve a max contract. Nowadays, I don't even think that's as harmful as giving one of these all-in packages that teams have been surrendering for a player who's not worth it. Gobert, Mitchell, those guys, right, did not help their teams to a level that made the deal worth it. Now, in the case of
Mitchell's still good.
Yeah, of course he is. Gobert's still good too. And in the case of these big names, though, they need to be a really big name for the all-in deal to be worth it. So this is why you won't see Drew Holiday going for 4 first-round picks or any sort of huge deal anymore, because teams know they can't hamstring themselves that much for a player that won't move the needle offensively for them pretty much at all. But speaking of, though, I brought it up earlier in regards to Harden. Let's pivot over to Drew Holiday. I want to talk to our betting consigliere first. Al, what is your favorite team to land Drew Holiday? My thought in my head is that somehow the Celtics are going to figure this shit out and figure out how to aggregate salary.
Oh, that'd be huge.
I also think that's a little unrealistic. The second team that comes to mind, though, is the Chicago Bulls. And I say this because will they get involved in a deal where Levine is the Harden return and they take on Holiday? And I don't know what it is that's going to happen, but I could see Drew landing in Chicago if it means that they can trade Levine for heavy draft compensation, maybe from a team like Philadelphia, and you see Harden get redirected and maybe some gigantic 4-teamer. I don't know, but Chicago to me is like my weird Drew landing spot.
Yeah, the thing with Drew Holiday is if he wants to join like a legit contender, he just left a legit contender, right, with Giannis and the Bucks. If he wants to join another top 4, top 5 type team, it's gonna take multiple teams. It can't be a 1-to-1 trade, whether it's a first round draft pick for Drew So you'll have potential spots like Clippers, Warriors, Celtics, maybe Miami taking this huge L with Lillard now has to do something and get Drew, something like that, right? So the interesting thing I wanted to bring up before we get to Zach, I know he has a great question coming up, but if you guys remember the 2023 NBA All-Star Game draft show, who did Giannis pick, even though his teammate Drew Holiday was sitting right behind him? Who did Giannis pick in that first number 1 overall pick? It was Damian Lillard in that draft, and LeBron called him out. LeBron called him out and was like, you have your teammate sitting behind you, you're going to choose a different point guard. And it's such a funny foreshadowing moment to me. Like, I just wanted to
Great note. No, that's tremendous. No, I completely forgot about that for sure. Foreshadowing. That was wow. I hope they're actually tight, and I hope Dame comes out and said, "Yeah, I approve this message," versus the Bucks just went for it. Either way, I don't care. It happened. He's there.
I think he wants to be there with Giannis. Yeah.
You think he approved it?
Those two, I can tell you
just to start it on the right foot.
Those two are tight. Like I could tell you that.
With that said, Albert mentioned some teams he thought. I personally don't think it needs to be a multiple team deal, but that's just me. I think Drew's going to go for a lot less. We saw what Dame just went for. But now that Dame is there in the East, these other teams that could use him might get a little more crazy, you know? So you could be right too. Like Miami could overpay now, or Philadelphia could overpay because they know they have to keep up with Milwaukee. That's the thing. Celtics, maybe not, because I could see the Celtics going for him. But the Celtics don't really have the
before you move away from Philly, sorry, would an acquisition of Drew be enough to keep James Harden there?
You're sending Harden out in that deal, man.
Right. Yeah. And unless you can talk him into taking 2 picks and Tobias Harris or something, that would be a dream. If you give me a starting lineup of Harden, Maxey, Drew Holiday,
Harden, Maxey, and Drew, and you'd want to move Toby? Oh,
heck yeah, all day, dude. All day. I don't care. Just go small and figure out the 4 spot. They just got Kelly Oubre. He'll play the 4. Just kidding. I mean,
he couldn't play off of Stephen Curry, and you're gonna throw Drew Holiday at him and be like, "God bless, man, go." Like I can't. It's not gonna work.
Kelly couldn't play off of.
No, he couldn't.
Kelly couldn't play off. Oh, that's
him and Wiseman. Him and Wiseman were the 2 guys on the whole team with a negative on off with Steph. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. I think if Philly does this, Harden's going out in the deal, and they've got to make it work in their minds where it's like, okay, well, Harden was causing huge problems. They didn't want to play at all. So at least this is something. Listen, if I'm Philly, I move Harden for Drew and try to get draft capital along with it to grease the wheels on an Embiid trade next summer. I'm tearing it down and resetting. This shit is not working in Philadelphia. Tear it down.
Drew wouldn't be enough. Drew wouldn't be enough to get these guys into contention. You're right there, but it could work. I definitely am. It depends how much you believe in Maxey and if Embiid can get any better. You could talk me into believing that, but I mean, if Drew Holiday is your return for James Harden, that's as good as you're getting. That's absolutely as good as you're getting there. But Drew Holiday could also bamboozle James Harden request to the Clippers, because Drew would be an absolute flawless fit there as well. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be some competition as Drew wants the Clippers. I guarantee you Drew Holiday wants to be a Clipper. That's his begging destination. I'd be shocked if it was anywhere else.
He's maybe also from Miami. LA.
Exactly. No, he's always out there all the time. He's got a big place out there. And so him and his wife I think are big city people, but he knows at this point in his career, he just wants to win. He's spent a lot of time in Milwaukee. He understands like his choices probably are pretty limited because they're just trying to get the best return for him. Would I love him in Minnesota? I would die to have Drew Holiday in Minnesota as my point guard. I would give up a finger for Drew Holiday. I kid you not. Like get Mike Conley the heck out of here. Normally if I'm not that
He was
passionate,
good. Conley was good for
he
Minnesota.
is not very good, dude.
I don't
He is
get
so
this.
overrated. People are obsessed with Mike Conley. He's a great human. He's a good man. But like, no, he is not getting the job done. He's slow. He can't defend anymore, and so streaky. He'll go 0 for 10 so often. It's like,
Oh
yeah,
boy.
it's bad. But other teams, like I think most teams should be in play for Drew Holiday besides your Dallas Mavericks. Sorry, Albert, unless you were able to send out Kyrie Irving, then that would be a dream to have Drew instead of Kyrie. Plus, if you could get anything back for that, but Kyrie's not able to be traded right now. Any weird destinations like Toronto, I don't think they would give up enough, unless it was just like an OG for Drew swap type of thing, and they thought Drew could boost him up. But like, what's Drew gonna do for them? Like, I would rather have OG, honestly, at that price tag. I don't see it. So I truly think like Minnesota's got to be a top 5 to 7 team in this picture. I really do. Move Ant to the 3. You could even have Drew like this. He's such a perfect fit. We're already all in with Rudy Gobert, and then you got the Clippers and the Heat. They're my teams, and then obviously, like we mentioned, Philly. What about New York, Kris? Next to Brunson.
I see New York wanting defensive help. I see them wanting it in the form of a big wing. If you guys know, the agent of Jalen Brunson and Obi Toppin is the son of the Knicks president of basketball operations. He recently picked up a new client. Guy's name is OG Anunoby. And so that is who I've said the Knicks have had their eye on for months. I was the first to report that the Knicks were the team that offered 3 first-round picks for Anunoby. They were that mystery team last season, and they're still interested. It wouldn't surprise me if something works out. And my coworker Jeremy Cohen at Knicks Film School has talked about this ad nauseum, where RJ Barrett is a Portland Trailblazer and OG Anunoby is a New York Knick, and some sort of 3-team deal is made. Listen, man, I could also see, the Clippers sending that Harden package, that man, and picks. I could see them going for Drew. I think the Clippers are a Drew Holiday team to watch out for as well, more so than the New York Knicks.
Right now, the 3 teams being reported to be at the forefront of the Drew Holiday discussions are Boston, Philadelphia, and Chicago. So the 3 teams that we've
talked about. If Boston does this, I'm going to be elated. I would dream for that and be absolutely sick for the Bucks.
I mean, listen, the Bucks and the Celtics battles would really, really be great then. They've been going at it in the playoffs for years. Giannis versus Tatum, Middleton versus Jalen. This would add a whole nother level to it. Adding Dame versus Drew to that side.
Think about upgrading Smart to Drew Holiday. That would be an unbelievable maneuver.
I just don't know what salaries make that work, but I'm not going to get too crazy into thinking about
Brogdon
that.
and White.
Brogdon and what? Oh man, that's tough to part ways with, but so worth it.
So really, worth it. You think?
If Drew stays, the depth of him? If you keep Drew and Green, yeah, I would say you do that if you're Boston, because your lineup of Holiday, Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, Williams is like the weirdest, most talented 5-man group in the NBA. So I think you probably could just go for that. Listen, guys, I want to say that this trade is probably a C flat for Portland, but I'm thinking C minus. I'm thinking C minus for Portland, C plus for Phoenix, and I'm gonna go with a big fat A minus for the Milwaukee Bucks. So great, and I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, that hamburger and fries was okay, 8 out of 10. Like, it's hard to get a high rating on my scales, man. I'm telling you, that's an A minus deal for Milwaukee. They did the thing. They're keeping Giannis in dark green. And that's all you can ask for them. Guys, final thoughts from you.
My grades would be Portland, I guess, incomplete. It's hard. It's almost impossible to win a trade when you're giving out the best player. It's just the truth. So it's hard to really make an assessment there. But you're right. I think the big winner is Milwaukee, not only acquiring Dame, but adding some confidence into Giannis, right? That's your crown jewel. That's your superstar. That's the guy that you're building around. And I think this is definitely going to make Giannis happy in terms of adding depth around him. I don't think they're going to have issues, guys. I think veterans are going to want to go to Milwaukee and play with Giannis and Dame. So with that being said, the biggest loser, in my opinion, the biggest loser, the Miami Heat. Not only did they lose starters in the offseason, and they were banking on acquiring Dame Lillard to really push this team into an NBA title contention. They don't have
Vincent and the ghost of Damian Lillard. Miami
Yeah.
Heat forever.
Now they don't have either. They don't have their starters, and they don't have Dame Lillard. Before this trade, they were like plus 600, plus 650, depending on what book you're looking at, to win the NBA title. Zach, they are down to plus 2,500, some places plus 3,000. So they went from 6-1 to 25-1. The top team down to the 10th, the 10th highest team. So big drop off for them.
That's a great note. I appreciate that. So I also agree. The Miami Heat are the biggest loser to go with James Harden here, unless he gets to the Los Angeles Clippers. But if he doesn't get to the Clippers and he gets sent anywhere else, he's the loser here. He could have gone to Milwaukee. I truly believe that super easily. And I've been saying that forever. If he had a brain to tell his agent to wake up. But with that said, I am just jacked up. This is making things really magical here. The Blazers are the loser of the three teams in this trade right now. Unless they flip Drew for a great return, I really like what Phoenix did. I'm not saying it's an A+, but I am really happy at the B return. I was expecting them to lose any Ayton trade. They won this one pretty handily. But lastly, Phoenix got better, Milwaukee got better, and Portland's in full rebuild mode. So come at us with your thoughts. Bring all the heat. Tell us our takes suck. We want to hear it. Tear us apart. But this is just fun. This is what the league is about. And honestly, we are James Harden away and now Drew Holiday away. Drew Holiday is so important to whoever NBA team he gets. So let's not underrate this next trade that's about to happen. We still have 2 more bangers to happen before this season. We can focus on the actual on-court duties of these professional athletes.
Absolutely. Well, stay tuned here on All Things NBA from A to Z. I'm KP signing off for Zach and Al. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Make sure to go leave a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a comment as well. Hit subscribe. If you're listening, go leave 5 stars. Go follow or subscribe to the show. Make sure you're tapped into all the latest episodes. Thank you guys so much for your support. We'll stay tuned in with you, keeping you updated on all things NBA, presented by Ball is Life. Peace out, y'all.